Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here with you again for another week. And I've been talking about the promises of God in the Old Testament. So today I want to start and spend this week talking about the promises of God in the letters of the New Testament. And then next week I'll do the promises of God in the Gospels. But let's start here in the letters. Paul writes this one, Philippians chapter 4. And verses 6 and 7. Here's what it says. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He's done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Well, you've heard me, if you've listened to me over the last few years, you've heard me talk about not worrying. And maybe some of you who've heard that have done a little less. It's such a common thing to mankind. It's almost as though our first response is to worry. I was visiting with a guy the other day who's having a problem, and he says, well, the worry is this is related to something previous. And I'm thinking, well, why worry about that? If it is, then you're going to get it fixed again. If it isn't, then you don't have to think about it. But we seem to be hardwired, as they say, to worry, to fret and think about the worst, and to sit around and really waste time and energy over something that will accomplish nothing. Okay, so let's accept the fact that if you worry about something, you're not going to make it any better. Chances are you're only going to make yourself worse. So if that's the case, then let's try an alternative. Let's try something else. And here's the promise of something else we can try. Don't worry about anything. Now, it says instead. So there's an alternative here. It's not saying don't worry about it, kind of nonchalant. Nothing bothers me. I'm okay. Everything's okay. Not a Pollyanna response, if you remember who that was, the old Disney film. Not that kind of a thing. It says instead of worrying, pray about everything. Now, over the years as a pastor, I've done a lot of praying. And I've known people who've done a lot more than I have. And I consistently hear a response like something comes up and the person will say, well, the only thing we can do is pray. As though this is a last minute effort that probably isn't going to happen or going to result in anything. No, it's not all we can do to pray. It is we can pray. So let's be at it. In praying, two things happen. One, we approach God's throne, the creator of the universe, the one who can do everything a whole lot better than you or I can. And two, we change our attitude. And in the process, maybe our actions. It says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need. So if we run up into a situation that we cannot control or fix, and you know what? There are a lot of those in this life. Some of them are just absolutely horrendous. Instead of saying, well, all I can do is pray, say, I can pray, and then pray. And then, if there's something else you could do, great, go and do that. But don't use prayer as the last-ditch effort, the last line of defense. Use it as the first offense of something that comes up. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He's done. You see, talking to God involves two things. Three actually. One, tell Him what you need. Two, thanking Him for what He's already done. And three, listening for the answer. What has God done in your life? Now, surely He's done something. And if you think hard enough, you ought to be able to come up with it. If nothing else, He gave you life. That didn't have to happen. And if you're listening to me, then you're still breathing. And there are an awful lot of people who've been on this earth that aren't. So thank God for what He's done. And be genuinely sincere about that. When we can thank God and talk to God through prayer, what happens? Well, here's the final piece of the promise. Then, after doing those other things, then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. So many times we base our prayer life, we base our actions on what we understand. And you know, I know some really smart people. I've been to school a lot and I've had a lot of really smart professors. But nobody's been nearly as smart as God. He will give us peace that we can't understand. It's okay not to understand. It's okay to be in the dark, as long as you know that God isn't in the dark. See, we're not alone here. This is a promise. This is a word from God Himself to you and to me. Don't worry about anything. Yes, there'll be a lot to worry about, but worrying won't accomplish a thing. Good, anyway. Instead, tell God about it and thank Him for what He's done. And then you'll experience a peace, a contentment, a situation of relaxation that you can never imagine. And it says His peace will guide your heart and your mind. God's peace will get you through the day. Your worrying won't. Well, you think about that. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll be back the rest of the week. We'll talk about some more of these ideas, some more of these things that God tells us. Until then, if you have a need or a prayer concern, let us know. We'll do everything we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. God bless you. I'll talk to you again.